they must be going back to their... Really? Well, actually, Mandy, well, I'll try as best I can. We're following part of this group of officers here. They may just be going back to where they came from through an alley, but we noticed that they departed South Grand, went down a side street, and now they've come down this alley, and looks like they're going to double back here on their way to Grand. We did notice at this other intersection in Grand that we're directly over now, it looks to me like there are about 3 or 4 people that they've got on the sidewalk over here that they have at least detained them. Whether or not they're under arrest is, I guess, something that we can't determine from this height, but we can definitely tell you that they are detained at this stage of the game, and you know, police are working with them, and there are several police vehicles here at this intersection on Grand. For now, it does appear to be relatively quiet. There is a pretty good-sized police presence here, but there doesn't seem to be anything terribly odd going on. Just the officers going back to wherever they originated from, I think, at this point, and checking things along the way. For now, we'll throw it back to you.
listen, it's really too early right now to give. Rocks, batteries, different things like that. And I can tell you that I personally heard about 150 shots fired. You know, it's really unfortunate this evening because we had really planned, and Captain Johnson and myself had talked about the fact that we were really hoping for peaceful protest. And I mean that. You know, we talked about it as early as this evening, saying, you know, what it's going to be like tonight. And, you know, it might not be too bad. It might not be too bad is exactly what Captain Johnson said. And I shared that optimism. But frankly, as soon as Mr. McCullough announced the verdict, the officers started taking rocks and batteries. They talked to me. I was in Clayton monitoring the press conference at the time along with Captain Johnson and my senior staff and the senior staff from the Highway Patrol in St. Louis at the time. And I told the troops, I said, just back off. Just back off. We'll try to treat this like like some sort of a festival or a baseball game or something. By that time, the protesters basically owned Florissant Road, so we allowed them to linger there. Well, the next thing that happened is we started losing glass across the street, and because of that, we decided to stage but not bring the TAC units forward. Then we started getting gunfire from across the street, so based on that, we wanted to put the TAC trucks in between the businesses and Florissant Road on the west side. We just thought that'd be a good thing to try to save the businesses. Right about this time, we started having problems up to the south at Florissant Road and Paul Avenue or Suburban Avenue. So I actually had a reporter, I won't name the station that came, the media that came past me, and he said, fellas, be careful. There's a whole lot of guns in there. And that was at the Meineke area at the time, which was just about 50 meters to the north of us. So we started seeing a trash can on fire, then we noticed the police car on fire, then there was a second police car on fire. We may or may not have made an arrest in that case for knowingly burning on the police car. As I said, we have about a dozen buildings burning. This is extended all the way up as far as looting goes to Halls Ferry and New Halls Ferry, Old Halls Ferry and New Halls Ferry, the wedge, and pretty much up West Florissant all the way to 270, even across at the clock tower. So again, a lot of gunfire. I'm disappointed in this evening. I really don't have any hesitation in telling you that I didn't see a lot of peaceful protest out there tonight, and I'm disappointed about that. I'm not saying there weren't folks out there that were out there for the right reason. I'm not saying that wasn't the case, but I am saying that unfortunately this spun out of control. And frankly, what I'm seeing tonight, and I have been up there all evening, right in the middle of it, along with Captain Johnson, what I've seen tonight is probably much worse than the worst night we ever had in August. And that's truly unfortunate. I said several months ago during an interview, what would be the worst thing that could possibly happen? And the fact of the matter is, I said, to tear the fabric of this community apart. And frankly, that has happened here tonight. There's not a lot left on West Florissant between Solway and Chambers Road. And those are businesses that may never come back. So frankly, I'm heartbroken about that. Now the good news is, we've not fired a shot. As far as I know, we don't have any serious injuries to police officers. They're banged up a little bit with rocks. One lieutenant from the patrol got hit in the head with a glass bottle. But we don't have any serious injuries. As far as I know, we haven't caused any serious injuries tonight. We did deploy tear gas. I talked to the sergeant from the Highway Patrol. I said, hey, he goes, hey, we were in a death funnel. He goes, there was no way we were getting out of this. So we also deployed gas at West Florissant and Chambers Road this evening. So I'm very uplifted by the fact that we don't have any loss of life, because that's the main goal here, is preservation of life. But I am disappointed that the evening turned out this way. I'd like to turn the microphone over to Captain Ron Johnson.
I agree with the Chief's assessment, and it is important that we did not lose any lives. No officers lost their lives, and no citizens lost their lives. The officers did a great job tonight. They showed great courage, but I am disappointed, just like the Chief. You know, when I look at our communities torn apart. You know, last month in August, we talked about the out-of-towners came in and tore up our community. Well, our community's got to take some responsibility for what happened tonight. As far as tearing our community apart. This cannot happen. We talk about peaceful protests, and that did not happen tonight. We definitely have done something here that is going to impact our community for a long time and impact our region. That's not how we create change. Change is created through our voice and not through destruction of our community. You know, if you go along West Florissant, those are dreams. Those are small business owners, and we've torn those dreams away. For weeks we've talked about wanting to have dreams and have jobs, and then we do this tonight. We have to do better as a region and a community. So I agree with the chief. We're really disappointed. We all talked today, myself, Chief Belmer, Chief Dodson, about the hope for this region and what we expected today. So, thank you.
I have one more comment real quick before we take questions. Listen, our heart goes out to a University City officer that was shot tonight, I believe on Canton. I don't know his status right now. He's at an area hospital. As far as I know, that is totally unrelated to any events here in Ferguson.
Chief, two questions. One, what happened to the National Guard? Weren't they supposed to be here to help protect all these businesses? And the second question is, by making this announcement so late in the evening, did that put you at a substantial tactical disadvantage?
Well, I really don't think the announcement had much bearing on it. It was going to happen at some point, no matter what. As far as the Guard goes, they did have a steady build-up throughout the day. It's certainly understandable that we can pretty much right now use all the assets we can have. So I'm looking forward to additional Guard assets to assist these officers so they can get out here and deal with the problems, and perhaps the Guard can help us with some force protection out here.
Speak to damage in surrounding communities, how it spread outside of Ferguson.
Yeah, you know, there was a big blockage downtown on 44, and then they started losing some windows in the Shaw area. I really don't know beyond that if they've had anything else.
Delmar City Hall, I guess, was damaged by fire tonight. Is that true?
I didn't. Oh, the Delwood City Hall. No,
sorry.
It was the business right next to it, the fire station. So, but we thought it was the City Hall, but it wasn't. And, you know, one of the challenges, for example, that we had was trying to cut traffic off this evening at West Florissant and Chambers. But when I talked to the sergeant on the scene, I said, you know, you got enough cars to go shut the traffic. He said, well, we did, but we're taking so much, there was so much gunfire in the area that I was really afraid to leave my officers down there. So it really is a dynamic evening tonight that we're dealing with. I had a question over here.
Was there another officer fired at the McDonald's on West Florissant? We heard about maybe an officer fired at. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think that's certainly possible with the amount of gunfire. I heard that over the radio when I was up on South Florissant. I can't tell you for sure if that happened. I can tell you that Captain Johnson and I, when we were in one of the areas this evening on West Florissant, you know, the officers and ourselves, we got lit up. So I can't imagine that they didn't hit one of us, but by the grace of God, ma'am.
Did law enforcement underestimate the reaction to the grand jury decision? I mean, the governor held a news conference, you were there, Captain Johnson was there, and you all said that we have a plan, we are prepared, we are ready. And you look at what is happening now in Ferguson, what is happening in St. Louis, how can you say we were prepared?
I don't think we were underprepared, but I'll be honest with you. Unless we bring 10,000 policemen in here, I don't think we can prevent folks that really are intent on just destroying a community. It doesn't take very long to throw some kerosene in a building and burn it as you're running past. And in this kind of an area where a lot of it's dark, the officers, they really don't have the ability to understand what's going on around them. So, you know, I think we had a good plan. We do have a good plan. We're going to move forward with the same plan. And, you know, our pledge was to protect everybody, including the businesses. We're certainly working very hard right this moment to do that.
Hey, Chief, obviously, let you know in advance what the announcement was going to be as far as the grand jury. Because the governor said that he did not know. If you think if you guys did get a heads up, they would have helped in any way.
Yeah, I mean, I did have a very good heads up along with Chief Dodson and Colonel Rephogle, Captain Johnson, from Bob McCullough yesterday about this. Some things have to be firmed up, and that was firmed up this morning with the prosecuting attorney. No, I didn't know. I didn't know it was going to be a non-indictment. I had no idea about that.
Would that have helped if you knew that just an hour or 2 hours before the culprit there?
No, I don't really believe it would. Besides, that's contrary to how we run the grand jury process in this country. And I just feel like that's information that we really shouldn't be privy to, basically to protect that process. I talked to Mr. McCullough today, and he told me the timeline of the announcement, and he said the only thing I won't tell you is what is the verdict at this point. And I said I understand, and I wouldn't ask. So I understand your question, and I understand the reasoning, but with the way we have a grand jury process in this country, I just don't think that's appropriate.
How do you respond to the business owners who are sitting at home right now watching their businesses burn to the ground?
I'll tell you that Captain Johnson and I and Sam Dodson have spent countless and countless hours engaging this community. We've talked to the Don't Shoot Coalition, we've spoken to the Lost Voices, other groups. We've been at meetings on UMSL Mondays after Mondays after Mondays, and some were productive, some weren't. We've met with our clergy, and I guess what I would tell those business owners that we not only were engaged, but we did everything we could to prevent this in, unfortunately, what is a very dangerous environment for everybody, to include the protesters and the police officers, because there are protesters out here that are out here for the right reason. Tonight it just didn't seem that way, though.
What will you do tomorrow to prevent this from happening again?
We're probably going to have some more guard assets in there. That should free up some more officers. I appreciate that, and we'll have a plan going forward with some operational stuff that I prefer not to go into, that Captain Johnson and I have just discussed inside, and I think it will mitigate some of the issues. But frankly, one of the problems we have is we don't really know what anything's going to look like sometimes until it happens. Like I said, as dynamic as August was, can you imagine a night like this? I mean, we didn't have anything of this magnitude. So it was very difficult, I think, to telegraph exactly what we should have expected. I didn't foresee an evening like this, I will be honest with you.
Any handle on the number of arrests at all?
29 arrests as far as I know. I do have some, like I said, I have some objects in the truck that if you could film those. I have a 45 semi-automatic handgun that we seized on South Florissant Road in an effort to stand there together looking at this. At some point, it's incumbent upon law enforcement to get to a point to where we have to control certain areas. We have 2 police cars on fire, we have situations like that. We have to get people to cooperate with us so we can do our job and prevent problems. I had a reporter from France come up to me right when I got on South Florissant Road. He had just a gash right here where he'd been hit by a rock. We had a man run over this evening. He was carjacked, and the people who carjacked him ran him over, elderly man. So these are things that for him. And I don't think us just clearing Florissant Road immediately would have been a benefit necessarily to what was going to happen either way, I'll be honest with you. I have a question there.
In terms of firefighters, was it too dangerous in some situations to...
Yeah, they made it down to the storage lot there at Canfield in West Florissant. Gunfire got too bad and they had to pull back. And I don't blame them. It's very difficult to be able to do their job in that type of a situation. And that's unfortunate. We were finally able to clear Solway to Chambers, or basically to North Winds Estates, just to get those fires out. So now we're going to work on the fires between Solway and Chambers, 3 or 4 that are burning in there right now. And as I walked out here, I noticed there was a used car lot on fire.
What about the role of clergy? Obviously, they were so instrumental in August. What did you see from them tonight, and what can you or hope for them in the upcoming days?
Actually, we did not see a large number of clergy out tonight. There were a few clergy out. We did not see a large number out tonight. And the few that we saw really didn't have a voice with the crowd. So hopefully tomorrow we'll see more clergy that will come out and assess. But it's going to take everyone.
I'm sorry, so why do you think that is? Why not the large presence that we saw back in August?
I don't know. I have no idea. I really expected we were going to see a large clergy out tonight. The chief talked about we had met with a lot of clergy and we just did not see them out tonight.
Was anyone actually shot tonight?
No, no one was shot tonight. I think the chief talked about that there was no loss of life and there were no shots fired by officers.
Captain Johnson, how many times have you had to reassess strategy?
Well, I think we're always assessing it, but like the chief talked about, we could have never imagined this, and so we will talk about it in a brief and make sure that we have a proper assessment tomorrow and make whatever changes we can for this community.
What's your reaction to what you see, what you're witnessing?
Hurt, a lot of pain. You know, it's just watching part of your life just go up in flames.
I know you've made a few arrests, but again, the role of the National Guard, I heard an interview with Mayor Knowles in Ferguson saying that he actually reached out to Governor Nixon's office trying to get the National Guard members to buy those businesses. What was the role tonight of the National Guard?
You know, I don't know about the conversation the mayor had with the governor. You know, the Guard is an asset, and they're deploying in, and we're going to use them to help free up our officers.
Captain, do you think there's a place for a curfew to come back here with this on August?
You know, at this point, a curfew wouldn't have made a difference tonight. This started really early. You know, we'll continue just to do what we need to do to assess to make this community safe.
Two more questions, guys. Of your officers out there. I mean, obviously they're going through a lot. Can you make a comment on just what they're going through?
Well, I can say I saw a lot of disappointment in their faces. You know, they put a lot of courage and heart and soul in keeping this community safe, and so there's a lot of disappointment in them, and also.
One more.
We don't have the exact addresses and locations, but we will have that later on. So if you want to check with us later or sometime tomorrow, we'll definitely have where they're from.
You said a lot of the businesses might not come back, or I think you said it should cover. But basically the idea is that these businesses might not come back. Can you talk a little bit about where Ferguson goes from here and kind of what you think the legacy of the city is going to be and if the city's going to survive at all?
Well, if we are going to survive at all, we're going to have to come together. And what happened tonight can't happen, can't continue on. So if we're going to come together and be better, we're going to have to come together and make some changes. But we have to understand that this community has to be whole. And right now, this community is really fractured. So.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.